My name is Dale Lewis. I'm an employee of the Wildlife Conservation Society. I live and work in Zambia, and I am the CEO of a nonprofit company in Zambia called Community Markets for Conservation. What this company does and where it works is it's a company that has become one of the leading food processing companies in Zambia that buys its raw materials that it puts into quality, value-added food products from tens of thousands of small-scale farmers who live around the national parks in an area called the Luangwa Valley, and it's one of the premier wildlife areas. And so the idea is to work with these farmers who, many of whom have had serious problems dealing with their livelihood needs and have turned to poaching, other livelihoods that have been destructive to themselves or to the environment. And the company tries to work with particularly these bottom of the pyramid farmers to get them into a safer livelihood. Why we've worked with farmers has been a very important part of our understanding of really how to do conservation better. You have to understand that the farmers that we work with are in the remote areas and therefore often in the more pristine areas that have a lot of natural biodiversity. And you find that they've also been disenfranchised from having adequate education, many of whom are actually very poorly educated, even illiterate. So they have had problems of getting into more formal markets, and certainly some have been benefiting from the illegal markets that we refer to poaching. So by understanding the plight of these farmers, you become motivated to realize that conservation has to be more responsible about how to look after the wildlife by first looking after the people who live with them. The solution for how to work with rural farmers that live on such a large and expansive landscape really does create huge challenges of how to get them into the formal market. And you can imagine we're working across a landscape of over 20,000 square kilometers where roads are absolutely terrible. It's easy to break an axle or a spring blade. And so the real challenge has been to develop a supply chain. Sort of think of it like a FedEx for the small-scale farmers. How do you move their raw materials efficiently so they can compete with other supply chains? And so we've had to create something from scratch, something that was non-existent for many of these farmers. And we actually decided to do this in an agreement with them because we had worked with these communities prior to when we started this company. We had tried many different approaches to try to reduce some of the threats to wildlife, and nothing really worked that well. And I can remember when we sat down one day with the local leaders and we said, well, we will put down our binoculars and we'll stop spending so much time worrying about the elephants. We will sit down and work with you and create a company that will really try to look after your needs. We'll bring in the inputs, we'll bring in the skills, and we'll create markets. But the deal is you put down your snares and guns, pick up your plow, let's work together. Let's create a really great company that has never been thought of before, and we'll do something very special for both you and the resources that you live with. And that was 10 years ago. And it's taken 10 years to grow this company, to put that supply chain, get the products developed that consumers will want to buy. We're going to turn over between 2.7 and 2.8 million US dollars in sales of our products. And we have lifted the income of people who have now gone from a food deficit to a food surplus, where they're now able to sell their raw materials to our company. We've lifted their income up by $140. Well, that may not sound like a lot, but when you monetize all the other benefits that they have been able to achieve, food security and other potential markets, we've actually lifted their income up to about $400. When we started, the average income was just about $80 per year. These were very poor people. They've got enough money now they can send their kids to school and hopefully stay so busy they don't have time to poach.